Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. Jeff, I'm sending you over a list of segment titles here. I made one change in the last one, so make a note of that. All right, sorry about that housekeeping business. Short breaks here. Try to get a lot done on the break. So again, stressing at the end of the last segment, look, we've got to resist any effort to draw a parallel between race and homosexuality. As Colin Powell said, it is convenient, but it is invalid because nobody chooses their skin color, but homosexual behavior is always a matter of choice. That's the thing you got to remember. Our focus is on behavior. It's on conduct. It's on sexual choice. That's where it's not on orientation. It's not on the impulse because we can't control those. We can't control the kind of impulses that rise up within us. We're not in control of that. All we can control is whether we will yield to those impulses or not. And yielding to those impulses is a matter of choice. Skin color is not. So that's our bottom line there. And I want you to understand that. And I want you to lock that into your brain. Skin color is not a matter of choice. Homosexual conduct, behavior is a matter of choice. All right, let's take a couple of quick calls to open this segment. Let's go to Barry in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Barry, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, good to hear from you again.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, I was just thinking about that. You know, to me, it's like all these people talk about racism and stuff, and it's kind of like it's not to me it's not near as bad now as it used to be. Everybody says, well, it's still getting bad. It's getting worse. Well, if it was still getting bad or getting worse as the time goes on, this wouldn't have festered as fast and as many people jumped on it after it come out.
Yeah, and I think you're making a very, very good point here, Barry. I mean, what this incident reveals is just how we have developed as a culture a oneness of mind on the issue of racism, that it is bad. Now, we're not always consistent in how we apply it because you can get a lot of reverse racism going, but that's a topic for another day. But the fact that there was universal reaction to this, universal outrage, universal criticism, universal condemnation means that we have come. To me, this is a good sign that as a culture we have progressed to the point where we have a oneness of mind about the evil of racism.
Right, and you got people like Al Sharpton coming on here, and it's like, to me, it's like, people like them, they come on here, they want to keep racism alive because it keeps them in a job.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, if they can't make some kind of grievance complaint about racism, they got no reason to exist. So, I mean, you talk about people, the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons, they have no interest in seeing racism resolved or solved in this culture because if it is, then they're out of business. So they want to keep it alive. They want to keep stoking the fires.
Right. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. Let's go to Mac in Albany, Georgia. Mac, Albany, Georgia, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, thank you, Brian. I think that fellow Don, he probably feels slighted because she was about like his granddaughter, and considering age, he's not got enough sense to know that all she was with him for was money.
Well, and it's interesting too, Mac. If you listen to that tape, I've listened to the whole thing, all 15 minutes of it.
Right.
I mean, she's like 31. He's like 81. I mean, that is just a completely messed up.
Could have been his great-granddaughter.
Absolutely.
And as far as Magic Johnson, he's not going to say anything about homosexual. Where do you think he got HIV at?
Well, he might have got it from the fact that
somebody sneezed by him. I bet he got it.
Yeah. Well, you might, I mean, we don't know. I mean, as far as we know, he got it from heterosexual promiscuity, as far as we know, and I don't have any reason to think different because it can be transmitted that way. But the important thing, and this is a subject for another day, but the important thing to me, HIV Johnson has been HIV positive, since 1981, 82, 30-some year, or 1990, 91, somewhere in there. So that's 23 years, and he doesn't have AIDS. I mean, I made the point, it's controversial, and I'm about the only one that agrees with me, but HIV is not the cause of AIDS. That's what this molecular biologist at the University of California, Berkeley. I've had him as a guest on this program, one of the premier molecular biologists in the world. Says HIV is a harmless passenger virus. Why was it invented? Why was AIDS blamed on it because they had to find a demon to slay, a dragon to slay. They'd been trying to find a viral cause of cancer, gave up on it, couldn't find it, couldn't pin it on virus. So now how do they get research money? How do they get research grants? They got to have a dragon to slay. And so they invented the HIV virus as the cause of AIDS so they could get billions and billions and billions of dollars in research to keep their labs open and keep things rolling. So anyway, that's where I think, magic probably got it through heterosexual activity. Who knows? But anyway, I got completely off topic there. But going back to this issue, why don't let's throw these sound bites in there, and then I'll get back to what I was talking about. I want to play clip number 4. I meant to play this when we were talking about Mia Love. Remember Mia Love? And this is what, when Rand Paul says this, I do not get what he's saying here, and I don't even think I agree with him. Now, Rand Paul, I understand, clip 4, he's trying to broaden the base. He's trying to appeal to everybody. But I don't get what he's trying to do here. Let's listen. I don't even agree with him. Let's listen to Rand Paul, clip 4.
What I've said repeatedly, the Republican Party will adapt, evolve, or die. They're not big enough. They have to be bigger. They have to include more people. I tell people that the Republican Party needs to look like the rest of America to have a chance. That means with tattoos and without tattoos, with earrings and without earrings, black, white, brown. You go to a Republican event and it's all white people.
Well, I don't know if I agree. Number one, okay, so you want a Republican Party that attracts people with tattoos and earrings. Well, you got to stop and ask yourself the question, all right, what would I have to say to somebody with tattoos and earrings to get them to come to my party and to get them to sign up for my political program? Well, what you'd probably have to do is go to the guy with the tattoos and the earrings and say, man, what do you want? I'm here as representing a political party. What's important to you? Man, I want to smoke weed, and I want everybody to be able to do anything they want. I don't want there to be any rules in life. I want to legalize pot, and I don't want to have any restrictions on what people can do in their sexual lives. Well, so what are you going to do? Say, great, well, we'll just drop that. We'll get rid of that. We want you to be a part of our political party. So I'm going to go to work, and we're going to get rid of all that stuff about making marijuana against the law. We're going to get rid of all that stuff about any kind of sexual standards when it comes to marriage or whatever, just so you will be at home. And you can't do that. You got to sell these people on conservatism. That means you got to educate. You got to form. Now, I'm not saying people with tattoos and earrings won't come to the Republican Party, but what I'm saying, man, if you sacrifice your principles in order to get people with tattoos and earrings, then what are you offering? You've sacrificed your principles. You got to hold your principles, and you can communicate them, you can educate, and maybe that's how you bring them in. He says you go to a Republican event, it's all white people. Well, we just talked about Mia Love, 78-22. Republicans chose her over the white guy. We got Star Parker as a solid conservative. Thomas Sowell is a black guy. I think he's the smartest man in the world. Larry Elder is a black guy who's a commentator on civil rights scene. Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. Walter Williams. I mean, the list goes on. Bishop Harry Jackson. The list goes on. Conservatives and blacks at the same time. Now, let's grab clip number 5. This is Sarah Palin speaking at the NRA. She's gotten a lot of heat for this, but I just kind of love her spunk and love her spirit. And I tweeted out a link to this little clip, and people accused me of supporting torture. Ladies and gentlemen, waterboarding is not torture. Waterboarding is not torture. You've heard that. You've been told that. But remember, when this first came to light, you had these college campuses all over America. People were doing these waterboarding demonstrations. They'd meet out in the plaza. They'd have a guy lay down on a board, and they'd waterboard. They'd put the towel over his face. They'd pour the water through the towel into his open mouth, and he'd cough, and he'd hack, and everybody would talk about how horrible this thing. That's not torture. I mean, it may not be pleasant. It may not be fun, but it's not torture. The guy's not going to die. The guy's not going to drown, and you know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. I mean, if it was real torture, where you get pliers and pull a guy's fingernails out, or you take hook battery chargers up to a battery and stick them on exposed flesh, that's torture. You don't see him doing that on college campuses to demonstrate because that's genuine torture. Waterboarding is not. Anyway, here's Sarah Palin, and Barack Obama said, look, waterboarding is torture. It's not. But he says it is. He stopped it. That means we can't get useful information, the kind of information we were able to get through enhanced interrogation. Here's Sarah Palin talking at the NRA convention.
Come on! Enemies who would utterly annihilate America. They who'd obviously have information on plots, say, to carry out jihad. Oh, but you can't offend them, can't make them feel uncomfortable, not even a smidgen. Well, if I were in charge, they would know that waterboarding is how we baptize terrorists.
So I think she's just being cute there. We're a Christian nation. This is a ritual. It's important to us. We know you don't. So I was just having a little bit of fun with it, supporting waterboarding. And she's been accused of being, I don't know, a heretic or flippant or whatever. I think she's being clever and funny myself, and maybe people ought to just kind of lighten up just a little bit. Let's grab one now. We don't have time to do that. I'll save those clips for the break. We'll take your phone calls at 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. And I think what I would like to take your calls on is what you think about political correctness. I'm going to play a soundbite from Bill Maher. It's actually an audio bite. We'll play that. Then I want to play a couple of clips from Greta Van Susteren. It'll be video clips 1 and 2, Rob, coming out of the break, which are sound bites from a homosexual Republican. So he's running for office in California. He's running as a homosexual, and he describes his experience dealing with social conservatives and then dealing with liberals in the opposition party. And he compares how he's treated as an out-acknowledged homosexual by social conservatives and how he's treated by the people that ought to be his soulmates, fellow gay activists. We'll talk about that when we get back. Focal Point AFR Talk.